What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. It's the week after Winter Clash. It's recovery time. I think from the, at least for me personally, unhealthiest weekend of the year. It's been amazing. Everyone that was there, hope everyone that was there enjoyed it as much as I did. It's hectic. It's crazy. It's a weekend of fun. I love it. It was great seeing so many people for the first time and again. And I think it was very much needed for people like me living in an area that is usually pretty harsh the months before, where it's just unskateable weather-wise. Again, I know this is complaining on a very high standard, but just happy to be around a lot of skaters and doing a lot of skating over the weekend as well, and taking back as much motivation as I can. I am back at the skate park, and today I just figured I would go more into flat rail skating or P-rail skating, as call it how you want. I got a pretty good setup right here in this park. I'll show you in a second. And there's no specific rhyme or reason for this video. I just figured it would be fun to share my my opinion and my, I don't know, call it strategy and how to approach flat rail skating. I think maybe in some ways it's similar to what many people would do. There might be things that are that you would disagree on. This is just sharing my opinion, my approach. But first, obviously, have to do this because there's always a question about the setup if I miss this part. So current setup, same as at Winter Clash. I got my own boot right here with the liner. Not much to say, didn't really change anything. Yeah, still skating the T-necks. I like the white bottoms on this frame. Still skating my 55 red eye wheels, which if you were at Winter Clash or if you were following on social media, there's they just released the new version of this wheel, which is going to be in a light blue. I took the inspiration from the brain dead wizard wheel that came along with Junk's promotional video. That was pretty dope. I like that color. I think it will look pretty dope on a 55. Actually, it does. I don't even think that. I know it. So yeah, that's so much about the setup. Coming back to the flat rail skating itself, today we're at a park that never had the chance to do any vlogging in so far. It's, I think, one of the I don't know if it is the oldest, but it's one of the oldest remaining skate parks in Vienna. All metal on a pretty rough ground. It's super fun, and yeah, you can just tell by the way the ramps are aligned and how the ramps are shaped. You can tell that this is from a different era, which is pretty dope. But I'm today simply here for the flat rail. Maybe gonna do some warming up on some other spots, but the flat rail is what I wanna get into as much as possible today. I'm gonna just, before I put on my skates, get into some basics that I want to share, which is this is a bit higher than the flat rail. I usually skate just a tiny bit, which can be off-putting at times, but I think right now it's actually pretty okay. Like that's always a thing after Winter Clash. Like, I'm not used to skating big ramps. Winter Clash only offers big ramps and like just few tiny spots. But generally it's bigger than what I would usually skate. So getting back to this spot, it seems way more like it just seems smaller in a good way. So feeling confident. Okay, let's start with the approach. Like, let's go through the whole process. So the approach should never be too fast. On a flat rail, it does not. It doesn't matter if you're going too slow, and you can build up the speed as you keep trying. But for me personally, for example, going too fast throws me out of balance a lot, and it messes with my focus. So find your right speed to begin with, and that speed can change from trick to trick. That is okay, and there's no such thing as going too slow on a trick that you're trying. Like, when you get the trick, you can always try to go faster and like just try to get to that speed that is still comfortable. Yeah, if you're the person that needs to go really fast, go for it. But if you're like me and you don't really enjoy skating insanely fast on a flat rail, don't do it. Already waxed it up is probably the most important thing, actually. And yeah, just gonna do some basic warming up, which is usually, depending on the height of the rail and how long the rail goes, it's usually a front side or a back side, just trying to surf through. And I'd much rather do like 10 or 20 of those in a row in order to get the feeling than just do it once and instantly move on to the next trick. I'm very specific when it comes to that. Like, I need to feel comfortable enough on a spot to keep going. So, and I think the initial tricks are crucial when it comes to that. So after you get the feeling, like, you can move on faster to next tricks. But if the first trick feels off and you keep going into more different tricks, you usually it ends up not feeling too great. Maybe you're not feeling too comfortable. Maybe it just feels a bit off. And that's why I'm just very much into just doing the same trick over and over until it just feels right. All right, once you figure out the speed, it all comes down to the angle of how you jump on, and also the height on how you jump, on how high you jump. The angle, pretty much, it's easy. You want to bring as much speed in the direction that you're skating. You don't want to like approach like this. You want to go like this. If it's possible, try to skate like parallel to the rail and jump on. I like to go at a slight angle that helps me get pushed onto the middle of the rail. And when it comes to height, you might think this is a very easy one. Just jump as high as the rail is, which does not always, that's not always the case. I recommend jumping a slight bit higher, and as you're jumping fully on top, slightly higher, that's how you get like that little bit of extra room mid-air to help you find your comfortable stance. Sometimes when I'm skating a rail and I'm not, or like just any spot, and I'm not jumping that tiny bit extra, I feel like I can feel that my stance is usually off, balance-wise I'm having trouble. Sometimes it's just, off-putting. And worst thing that does happen in those scenarios is that I'm throwing my feet over the spot, but my upper body is like on the other side, and then it doesn't have to like end up in a bad fall or anything, but it's just you're not centered anymore, and this movement kind of like exaggerates that. So on higher rails, like everything that's above the waist, that is when you like land on it like a wet paper towel. You don't want to do that, trust me. It does happen every now and then. But whenever I can, I'm trying to just jump slightly higher, get all of that focus in, get to the right stance, and try to figure out the angle. If you're having trouble when you're jumping on and you have like the rail in between your feet as you jump off, what I did when I had that problem, because like the rail that I learned most of my flat rail things on had this weird bank that was at an angle, and in order to really get on the rail, I would end up jumping somewhere in the middle. What I tried to do to like get rid of that is I just placed the shoe in front of the rail. Like, so if you want to jump on, from right from the start, I just put the shoe in front of the rail, like in line to the rail, and it would help me automatically not jump on from the middle. You can also just try to do a couple things like and just jump a meter after the rail starts. That way it's impossible to have the feet or like the rail in the middle between your feet. Just do some tricks that are like easy going at first. Do your comfortable tricks first, get a feeling of the rail, and once you get that good feeling, you just keep going. There's no harm in doing your safety trick 20 times in a row in order to like get the right feeling and then keep going. But it can be tricky going forward from only doing your safety trick once and not really feeling right on the spot. So if we're playing through the movement now, we got the right speed, the right angle, the right height, and what is important now is just to be centered on the rail. You want to have your legs and feet directly underneath your upper body. Don't want to be off axis. That way it's obviously the easiest to hold balance. You don't have to wave your arms a lot. And also it's the easiest to catch yourself if you miss a trick. So if you're like straight up over the rail, which is obviously more comfortable on a rail that is below waist high, you miss a trick and you're like fully centered, you can usually just roll away, or at least it's easier to catch the rail if a situation like this happens. So that's also why I would recommend doing safety tricks a couple times to like get that centered feeling right at the beginning, because that's the thing you carry on into your next tricks, the next movements that you're trying to do. Same goes for switch ups. Only switch up if you're centered, or if you're just feeling it. That is, again, just to recap, all of this is my personal approach on it. Every now and then I happen to just do switch ups when I'm off axis, when I'm just jumping off. But they're far more risky. They usually don't look good. Like, you want to have a centered switch up in order to like make it all the way to the end of a rail, or at least to have a controlled jump off. And again, my standards and like my way of thinking here. And I think these are the basic approaches that I am aiming for. I think on a flat rail it's not too bad if you land slightly lava, or if you just land centered afterwards. I think that is actually pretty, like, there's no issue there. When it comes to regular, alright, this is one thing, like landing lava on a sole plate trick. Like, let's say you do it in a regular sole and you land lava, which means you're landing on the opposite side of where you jumped on. That is pretty cool, actually. I think it gets you into a better stance as you keep grinding and you jump off. Top sides on the other side seem lazy if they're landed lava. So that is how I would see it. So, for example, if you do let's go true sole on a flat rail, and you land lava, as in like you lean over, you have to do a slight jump off to go there. That looks pretty dope. If you do a true topsoil and land lava, it looks lazy to me. I don't like the book of like the rule book thing too much, so but I like to follow my personal opinions. If you're like finding a pretty cool movement that involves landing lava, I think you should never just not do it because someone, in that case, for instance me, said it wasn't cool. Just go for it. And that is pretty much it. These are like my basic things to approach a rail. I still have not put on my skates, so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do some moves.
Der eignet den anderen doch so.
an, weil ich denke nie, dass man Hassgewalt ist. Finde ich so geil. Das ist so ingrained einfach so. Alter.
All right, that concludes the session. It's still daylight, which is unbelievable. This is the first session that really feels like spring, and I can already tell I'm just feeling more powerful, and I'm just feeling stronger in general than during winter times. And today has been very, very successful, which I really like. Just visualizing a couple of tricks and actually getting them done, because sometimes I'm visualizing tricks that I just physically cannot do, as in like I'm not strong enough, especially on this rail. But getting that true fish to backslide with the grab was really a very fulfilling challenge, because I thought about just leaving the grab out, because that would just make a good switch up after all, and I noticed how the grab would kind of be in the way of my natural way of moving, but stuck with it, and it eventually worked. The session after all was a bit more challenging than I thought it would be, because like from my own perspective, yeah, I was feeling strong, I was feeling focused and everything, but there was this guy around here who was overly excited about skating, and he used to be a skater as well. I didn't catch his name, but I also saw him with this huge bottle of wine, and also smoking, and yeah, it was not much of a dialogue, then it was more just him just rambling on, but at least he was speaking of it in a positive way. And classic guy, been out of the game for long, he was asking me if Deshi was still around. And for just so you know, Deshi went out of business when I started skating. So that's some time ago. But yeah, at some point during my thing, working through a couple of tricks, he said, he actually said, when I was doing the true fish thing, he said like, yeah, seriously, this is some pro level shit right here. I'm like, yes. Outside of skating guy recognized game. No. Yeah, I'm not necessarily bragging about it, but I am proud of it, and I didn't tell him that I was actually pro. All in all, it was a positive presence, just a bit hard to work sometimes with noise on the side. So as soon as I'm rolling up to a trick, I'm not hearing words, I'm just hearing noise, which is a good thing, which means I was really focused today. So I'm really proud of today's outcome. And even though I didn't provide many angles of the of my flat rail maneuvers, I think my point should be clear, as in like how I approach it and how I think it makes most sense to approach it. And I think also, well, this is actually to brag, I think I only missed like one trick jumping on. I did miss the backslide out of the true fish, I think 3 times in the whole process, but that was it. That was a very, very dialed in session. Of course, it doesn't always go that way, but yeah. Enough bragging about this session. Back to the original point. Flat rail skating is probably the most fun once you figure out your way around it. And I think, and I've talked to Ryan Parker about this too, actually initially it was his point, but I fully agree, is that P-rail skating just will probably move to a new level, or just move into a new light within this year, because it just offers a certain type of skating that you cannot do on street unless you have like exactly the same setup. But just P-rail skating in general, and all the layers that come with it, even though it seems so like one-dimensional in a way, but there's apart from just how many different tricks you can do, there's also the aspect of creativity and especially execution. I think on a P-rail that you have like the purest form of execution in any way. That is obviously if you feel comfortable, and I hope explaining my approach to this somehow helped others get into this. I noticed some very dialed in rail skaters are sometimes watching my videos, so if you are, I would really appreciate your feedback on this and how you approach rail skating. It doesn't have to be flat rail skating. I just think flat rail is the easiest one to go about it. I could also do a handrail skating thing, which would only take like 10 seconds of me showing that I usually don't skate handrails, but you'll never know. Anyways, a lot of rambling. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and see you next time. Keep skating.